Hey guys, so I'm going to start off by apologizing about my mic and all that static you're hearing. I tried multiple times on trying to get rid of it, but couldn't figure it out. Okay, so my unit lesson was on place value, and I was in that 5th grade classroom, and we started off, I got to be there from the get-go, and the first topic was place value, so I got to dive right in. And we started off with getting new books, and so a lot of the lessons that I created and planned out was by using this Pearson's Envision Math Common Core Grade 5 book, and it was really helpful. It has all of these online tools and videos that we could show in class for them to understand. So it was great. It was a great tool. So in my unit, there were 2 direct lessons, 2 cooperative lessons, and 1 inquiry. And we started off with just direct lessons of working with the place value chart. Students were to learn the thousandths place, and were to just place numbers into the place value chart. It wasn't too heavy, front-loaded. It was very light, and just trying to really tap into their background knowledge and to see what they understood about the decimal point, and really how to plug in numbers with the chart and without the chart. The next lesson focused on changing decimals from the standard form to the word form and to expanded form, or vice versa. If they had expanded form, they were to give me the decimal form, or if they had the word form, they were to give me the standard form and the expanded form. So they just really needed to understand that cycle of word form, standard form, expanded form of decimals. And this took a little bit of time because we had to also teach them equivalent decimals, which they needed a little bit more guidance and assistance on. So after we had done those 2 direct lessons, I tried a cooperative lesson in which students had to compare decimals, and they had to use the compare equal to less than symbols, and they knew that immediately, and they were able to use those place value charts we had used in the beginning of the lesson to help them decipher if one decimal was greater than or less than another decimal, and it was pretty fun. We worked on different partner activities, and we did a matching activity at this time, and so there were a few strategies that we used. It was a lot of group work, and kids were all over the classroom on the floor playing with different decimals and trying to trick one another if it was greater than or less than. My next lesson was about patterns, so students had to continue decimal patterns. So if it was 63 hundredths here, then what would go next? And that would be 64 hundredths, 65 hundredths, and then going down would be 75 hundredths, 85 hundredths. And they had to understand that moving over one was moving over just 100, or adding 100th, and then actually going up 1/10. And so they had to learn that, and they had to show me that with their work and arrows and what they were doing, and that was great. It was really helpful for them to do that. Then that day we also worked on the round table strategy, where I made it a competition, and students sat at their tables, and they had to be really quiet, and they would fill in one number and then pass it to the person next to them, and they would have to continue the pattern and continue the pattern and continue the pattern until this whole worksheet was completed, and it became like this hard competition. But they couldn't speak, and if a person got stuck, then they were to help one another, but only in whisper voices, and it was fun. And then at the end, I wanted to make sure that check for understanding and still having them work together, and this is where they did pair share, and they would go through each problem and discuss how they knew how the pattern was working, and how to increase the pattern, how to decrease the pattern. So that's how the cooperative lesson went for that one. And then my last lesson was the inquiry lesson. And this is where I talked about how to add decimals, like amounts on a menu. Normally, you look at a menu and it's like $1.25 or $8.85. And instead of just adding decimals, Common Core is really going back to first what's really happening. And so we had to use hundreds grids, and so they couldn't just add decimals or do mental math to add what how much it would be, but they had to show me on grids, and they had to show me like using different colors for each cost, and filling that in on these grids, and writing out explanations of. First I colored in with blue 50 cents for the bag of chips. Next, I colored in 75 cents for the soda can, and then they had to explain to me that each little square was 100th, and one full grid was like one because it would be 100 hundredths. So that's what they had done, and after that, I really wanted to check for understanding, so we did some partner and independent practice. I wanted to make sure that they still feel a little bit guided when we went to independent practice. So for the first problem, they worked with partners, and then after that, they had to complete the worksheet on their own. That was the end of place value for me. They will be continuing place value with my master teacher, their teacher, when they have to subtract place value using these hundreds grids. But we really wanted to focus just on adding with them first. And so yeah, that was my lesson. Thanks, guys.